encouragement from folks like you. A lot of folks have traveled a long way to be here today, and 200 miles and plus and so forth, so I'll try to do this rapidly.
Representative Hendren, excuse me just a second.
Yes, sir.
If there's anybody in the audience who wants to speak for or against this proposal, please sign up. Now, staff's got a signing sheet someplace. It's on the back table someplace, back by Mr. Thank you. I'm sorry, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, this past summer, I was out milking the cows and feeding the chickens, and I got this stack of stuff, and it says greetings. And since I didn't have to register for the draft a few years ago because my wife kept having those babies, I didn't have to go. It's almost as bad news as that. And so after I got this, I went over and talked with the Equalization Board in Benton County. And I've been there before, and it's neat to see the new guy here, Bear Cheney's here today. A good guy from Benton County. I guess there are other counties in the state as well. But Bear's predecessor, Debbie Asbury, and I have talked about this for a number of years now, about equity and fairness and understandability of property tax values and taxation in Arkansas. So to try to make a long story short, which I guess I never do, the purpose of this thing is to get into this and see what's going on and try to make it more equitable. And I guess the thing to do, say today, is fair. Make it fair. But make it where it's understandable. And I'm going to give 2 or 3 examples about property tax, and then former representative and chairman, whatever big shot he was, Jonathan Barnett's here today to make some comments. And then the third item on the agenda was my daughter, who was going to rehearse an experience with the Equalization Board in my county. And she's not here. She's doing something else today. But we do have a couple, that one from Bella Vista and one from Brown Springs, retired major from the Air Force, Mr. Wheaton. But they'll be talking about this shortly, but just to try to summarize it without going into detail, is when you look at this thing, our property taxes, our property are supposed to be taxed based on market value. And here's one of the piece of paper that Benton County uses, perhaps others do, that help the taxpayers understand, property owners understand how this works. This particular one I had here that came out, the estimated property, now these 2 or 3 that I'm talking about are primarily mine, but there are others that have come in. And this one here, the previous value, the estimated market value was 2012 was $376,000. That's for a gymnasium we use for young people and church services and so forth. This value this year when it came out was $564,000. And that bothered me. Then we have a housing addition up there that we just had, and the assessor, the previous value was in 2012 was $480,000. The assessment value came out this time. It was changed to $1 million, $3,000, $1,003,000, from 480 to $1 million. And let me just digress and let you what we're trying to do. This let the people of this state, the 3 million people in this state, understand what's going on, and then we'll fix it. We'll make whatever necessary changes. And I talked to Bear about that a while ago. Not to throw the baby out of the bathwash, but just make it work better. But so when I got that reappraisal on that $1 million, we were getting ready to sell that housing addition because we needed out of it. We didn't know what we were doing, kind of like an insurance agent from Nashville. We didn't know what we were doing, so we needed to get rid of it. Well, I got this several years ago. The Equalization Board had reduced it from this to that and so forth. But when we got an offer on this thing for $700,000 for this housing addition in Rapid. And I was just tickled to death about that because we needed to get rid of it. We lost some money. And then I got this appraisal in. I got some copies here. And the appraised value from the county assessor, or whoever the special assessors were, the market value currently for this year was $1 million, $3,000. And I thought, man, we've got an offer for $700,000 subject to appraisal. So I took this to the Equalization Board, and they said, well, that's what you're willing to sell it for, and that's what the guy's willing to give. That's market value. That's what I've always thought it was. So I took it over there, and they looked at it. They saw the contract. They said, well, that's the market value. That's what it's selling for, and I'd like to have more. That's not the end of the story, though. So the Equalization Board reduced it to $700,000. $12,000 a lot for 60 of them, something like that. So I was just as happy as I could be. and I go back and I'm fixing to get out of debt some of this stuff here, and but the offer for $700,000 on that housing addition was subject to appraisal. Well, when I got this reappraisal here, I thought, well, we've got it made there. That's a walk in the park, because the bank's going to get their appraisal and they're going to come up with $1 million, and this buyer may even want to raise the price for us. Well, the day before we were to close this deal, my real estate guy called me and says, Kim, I got some bad news. He said, Hudson's Appraisals, and I have it here, which is a professional outfit that does stuff for the banks in Benton County. At least this bank did. Said, we got a little bit of bad news. Said, the appraisal in is now for the bank, and the appraisal value is $532,000. I said, what you talking about? He said, $1 million, what the assessor says, or the appraisers say, and this is $532,000. So the buyer said this, he says, you know what, I can't get $700,000 to pay you that for it, but I will come up to, if you'll take $650,000, I'll take that. So this dumb partner I've got in that deal up there, we talked about it, and we said, okay, we'll take the $650,000. So we sold it for $600,000. As far as what I know about this is, as I'm still a young guy, but as far as I know about that, that's market value, what a willing buyer, an able buyer, and a willing seller is willing to take. We didn't want to take $650,000, and he didn't want to give $700,000, but we took $650,000, got the money in the bank. And I just tell, and others are going to say some more about that. That's why there's something wrong with this deal, and so on, and then this other deal here. But let me run through a couple other things, and then we'll get to Barnett down here.